Karmelo Anthony is going to be charged with first-degree murder. Yeah, it wasn't premeditated. So that's a requirement of first-degree fucking murder. It's for it to be a premeditated unaliving. These kids did not fucking know each other.
Karmelo Anthony is being charged with first-degree unaliving for taking Austin Metcalf's life on April 2nd, 2025. When Karmelo Anthony went to a high school track meet where he was not supposed to be at, then he brought a weapon, a knife, onto school grounds, which is against school policy, went to a tent where he was not welcomed and asked multiple times to leave by Austin Metcalf, refused to leave, and then in the chest to Austin Metcalf, where then Austin is held by his twin brother, where he passes away in his arms. All right? And now Karmelo Anthony is being faced with first-degree unaliving. This is going to be a sweet taste of justice because he is already on the record for admitting that he did do this. That's a long time if you get convicted of first-degree unaliving. Probably going to entail some big fines. Maybe you should have kept your GoFundMe money and waited to spend it until you found out what the verdict was going to be for your hearing. Justice for Austin Metcalf. Honestly, be so for real.
If you don't know what the fuck going on, shut the fuck up. It's too easy to shut the fuck up. A lot of motherfuckers have a problem, have a real issue with shutting the fuck up. Bitch, just shut the fuck up. That's it.
Superintendent about this decision. Our JD Miles was the only local reporter there. He brings us the story tonight.
He says he just wants answers, but when Jeff Metcalf arrived at Frisco ISD's administration building, this is what he got.
Hi there, can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to come in and speak to someone, please.
I'm sorry, we're not allowed to let anyone in without an appointment.
The father of Austin Metcalf wanted to hear directly from Frisco ISD Superintendent Mike Waldrop what he heard from media reports on Tuesday. Those reports are that Karmelo Anthony will get his diploma later this month, despite being under house arrest and charged with murdering Metcalf's son, Austin.
I've been stonewalled. Said, I understand the protocol. They said I have to make an appointment, which I did.
It was 6 weeks ago today when what authorities describe as an altercation between Austin and Karmelo led to one 17-year-old pulling a knife and stabbing the other 17-year-old in the chest at a track meet inside a Frisco ISD stadium. Anthony's parents, who claim their son was just defending himself, asked Frisco ISD to allow him to get his high school diploma. Sources say an agreement was reached that would allow that.
So I'm just curious on how they arrived at it when I read their own policy manual about what it states for mandatory expulsion and also graduation.
In a statement to CBS News Texas, a representative for the Anthony family tells us, "We cannot and will not speak about the agreement made with Frisco ISD that remains confidential and legally protected. Wow. However, it is truly a shame that anyone would go so far as to threaten the graduation ceremony or try to ruin a day that should be filled with joy, pride, and accomplishment for so many students and their families." Frisco ISD superintendent posted a message on social media last night, making it clear that Anthony will not be allowed to attend a graduation ceremony. No student who commits a serious criminal offense is permitted to participate in the graduation ceremony. But sources say Anthony's GPA was high enough to withstand missing the last month of school and still meet the requirements for a diploma. The school district tells CBS News Texas if the student is expelled, they may continue their education through the Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program. In cases where a student has completed all graduation requirements and is facing expulsion, Frisco ISD typically gives the option of early graduation instead of placement at JJAEP. The controversy has resulted in a new online petition to award Metcalf an honorary diploma next year when he would have graduated along with his twin brother.
The fact of the matter is it's not going to bring my son back. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a nice gesture, but in the long run, my son doesn't get a diploma. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's part of me that says maybe Mr. Anthony shouldn't get one either.
So Karmelo Anthony is being allowed to graduate but not allowed to participate in the graduation ceremony. And Jeff Metcalf, Austin Metcalf's father, is very upset by this, so much so that he went to the superintendent's office and demanded to speak with him and was told that he needs to make an appointment. Now, I'm going to explain to you as a former school leader, a former district leader, and as someone who does leadership development for school leaders, why it just doesn't work that way. Number one is Jeff Metcalf made the appointment with the superintendent. However, he's going to be very disappointed when he meets with the superintendent because the superintendent cannot share any information about any student without breaking or breaching any student privacy acts. So he can listen to Jeff Metcalf, but he cannot inform him about any disciplinary actions that they decided to take against Karmelo Anthony because that would be illegal. Number two is you can't just expel a kid from a school, as much as people want to believe that. There's an actual hearing that has to be held. There has to be evidence that is collected, and it has to in some way go against the school's specific policies. And the truth of the matter is that the boys go to two different schools. So unless Karmelo Anthony is found guilty of something before he was supposed to graduate, they cannot just expel him because of the incident that happened, especially because he's claiming, and I agree, that it was self-defense. Which leads me to my next point. As long as a student is enrolled at the school is legally required to provide that student with some sort of education. So they could not just keep him out of school and let his grades decline and say that he's not eligible to graduate. They're not allowed to do that. Now, what they can do is find other ways to provide him with an education or allow him to graduate because he already fulfilled all the requirements for graduation. But if they somehow prevented him from accessing an education and then did not allow him to graduate, his parents could sue them for everything they got, and they know that. At this point, this is a legal matter. It is a legal case. It is not about how people feel or up to the school district to decide who's guilty and who's not guilty because they don't have the jurisdiction to do that. If you want all the details of the case, I will be talking about it on my YouTube channel. Now, congratulations to Karmelo Anthony for graduating. And I can understand why Jeff Metcalf is hurt about this. Like, I'm a human, right? Losing a child is something no one should ever have to experience. But he's not been proven guilty in a court of law.
There's been an update on the Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf situation, tragedy. He's being charged as an adult. It's a victory for Austin's family. You know, the fact that he's still out of jail and that the father of Austin was coming out and trying to stop the school from allowing him to graduate. Like, every time you turn around, he's being celebrated, donating money, being celebrated. He's out doing whatever he wants. All the while, this family has to suffer the loss of their baby. That life was taken tragically too soon, in my opinion, but God has his own plans, how he's going to use this situation, I think, to shine light on a lot of hypocrisy that's going on in, I would say, the Democrat community, because those are the only ones that were supporting this boy. And what I want to say is this. As a mother, this is disheartening to hear from both sides. I would hate to be in the shoes of Karmelo Anthony. I would hate to be in the shoes of Austin Metcalf's parents, having to bury a child, and on the other side of not wanting your child to go to prison for something that he did indeed, for him overreacting and not being able to handle a situation like it should have been handled. There was no reason to use deadly force. Let me say this. I'm mixing the two here, but Karmelo's being charged as an adult at 17 years old. And I want to kind of mix this in with one of my other videos where I was talking about the whole Cassie situation with Diddy and all that. And people were like, oh, but she was manipulated. She was 22, blah, blah, blah. There comes a point in time where your children, whether they're 17 or 22, have to own up to their actions, okay? If they're 21, they can go to the military. If they're 18, they can go to the military. If they're 21, they can drink. What I'm saying is this. We have to raise our children that they are adults way before people see them as adults, because you're old enough to know right from wrong. You're not 10 years old. You're not 12 years old. We have children that are 13, 14, and 15 years old taking people's lives. And that's because they stay immature for too darn long. They stay immature for too long, and they don't realize that whatever decisions they make will have a lifelong impact on them, whether they be 15 or whether they be 22. It just will. And so with that being said, again, I would hate to be on the side of either of the parents going through this right now, but I would definitely hate to be on the side of Austin's parents, okay? Because they're the victims up in here. Let us not forget that baby is gone and they had to have a funeral for their child. For a situation that did not have to go that way. And we all know, I did plenty of videos on it before, but I just want to touch on it really quickly. He's being charged as an adult. He's being charged as an adult, and I think this is going to cause, hopefully it won't cause a firestorm over in Frisco. People that were rooting for the Austin Metcalf's family are definitely breathing a sigh of relief today, knowing that he's going to get punishment for what he did, even though he's out free and graduating from high school and getting money sent to him and his family.
Salute to Texas for doing the right thing, charging Karmelo Anthony with first-degree murder. Now, I know a lot of you donated your pennies to his family, but when the state of Texas charges you with first-degree murder at 17 years old, boy, you're doing 40 years. You're doing 40 years. Now, if you would have been a year older, boy, you would have did life. Now, you say, John, why are you celebrating this? John, you're celebrating it. He took the life of a boy for nothing. We need to stop letting this sort of narrative and this sort of victimhood be prevalent. Even if they said words to him, even if they bullied him, doesn't give you the right. And the Texas is going to make an example out of him. And I'm glad.
Karmelo Anthony just got charged with first-degree murder as an adult, and I feel it should have been premeditated. Damn! Regardless of what y'all think, you don't bring a weapon on school grounds, let alone tell somebody, touch me again and watch what happens.
Stop it. Get some help.
First of all, Mr. YN, you were the only one that knew you had a weapon, so that would count as premeditated to me.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
I am a black man, but I do not support criminal behavior, and I don't like when we push a negative narrative. Karmelo is not a hero. He is not courageous. He was not protecting himself. It was not self-defense. So get mad, get my comments, accuse me of being a coon, but what I know is I raise my kids the proper way, the correct way. I won't teach them that this is okay. If you feel you have a problem, go tell a teacher, go tell a principal. You can have conversations to combat negative situations, but people get emotional at the snap of a finger and they flashing out. I don't agree, I'm not with it, and he should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, regardless.
I remember Karmelo Anthony, the one everybody tried to make out to be a motherfucking hero, black power. He defended himself against the white bullies and killed an innocent Austin Metcalf. Yeah, he just went to prison for first-degree murder. And how do I say this? I told you so. I got so much hate on that video, but you know what? I ignore the fuck out of the hate because a lot of y'all motherfuckers are just in denial, all right? Who the fuck brings a knife to a track meet not planning to kill someone, not planning to use it? It was premeditated first-degree murder. His dad was in press conferences crying that they should have shut down the track meet because of the weather. They just started pulling at strings, dude. Like, they didn't even know what their argument was anymore. They were just making shit up. And I feel bad for all y'all motherfuckers who actually donated to this man. What the fuck? All that money went to waste. Y'all got them a new house, a new car, and that nigga still went to prison. But I know black people will continue to be in denial until you slap them in the face with the truth. I know it's hard to face the truth, but it's the truth. I will never ever be delusional, and to say that wasn't murder is delusional.
Karmelo Anthony will be tried as an adult, like I've been telling y'all. Okay, he's one step closer to being right here with Big Randy. Doing life with the possibility of parole, probably after about 40 years. Oh yeah, you're gonna be damn near 60 or 70 before you get out, Karmelo. It'd be nice and really violent by then, huh? You know you're in bad shape when you murder somebody before you're even 18, am I right? Now you're going to be in the most violent place for the next 40 years. Oh, yeah. You know, at least you know how to use knives, because you're going to need them.
White people have always felt that they had jurisdiction over the black body. It goes back to the plantation days, Art. The problem with this case is the stand your ground law was meant for white people to be used against black people. The stand your ground law was meant for white people to be used against black people. It was never intended for black people to use the stand your ground law to defend themselves against white people. And guess what, Art? White people don't care whether or not Karmelo is justified or not. They don't care. Even if it is proven that Karmelo acted in self-defense, and it will be, they don't care. The problem with white folks is in this country, black people do not have a right to defend themselves from Caucasians. This is a 400-year-old practice. This is a 400-year-old norm. This is a 400-year-old culture. This is a 400-year-old custom, Art. So he not in court fighting against the law. The law is on Karmelo's side. The problem is, the basic problem of this case in Frisco, Texas, Art, is a black boy valued his own life enough. A black boy valued his own life enough to take the life of a Caucasian in order to defend it. And in American history, you rarely come across black men, let alone a child, who valued his life enough and had courage enough to defend himself against two racists who were trying to harm him.